I am beating every N64 game, and I mean all of them. The twist is, the next game I play is randomly selected, so I have no clue what's coming next. This is the journey to beating every N64 game. Game number 112, NHL Breakaway 99. Released in 1998, this game was developed by Iguana Entertainment and published by Acclaim. We're headed back to the ice rink once again. This is the second and final entry in the NHL Breakaway series on the N64. The first game was played quite a while ago at game number 6. Now, I remember having an okay time with that one. It wasn't anything special, but it wasn't too bad to play. These sports simulator games just feel so rough in the modern day compared to their arcade counterparts. I personally don't know much about hockey, and honestly I kind of hate it as a sport, but I've learned a little bit about it through this challenge. Some of you may be wondering if Chandler was found in this entry, or maybe he's still lost. I guess there's only one way to find out. Let's get into it. So as usual, the way we handle sports games in this challenge is to beat the main championship for that sport in the quickest way the game allows. With hockey, that would be the Stanley Cup. This game offers a playoffs mode to skip all that regular season nonsense, so that's what we'll be doing to beat this game. I set the playoffs to a 3-game series to keep it a bit interesting without too much repetition. First, I had to make the biggest decision of the entire game. Which team would I play as? All the teams have different stats, trying to be similar to how good that team was at the time period. The best 4 seem to be the Colorado Avalanche, Detroit Red Wings, Pittsburgh Penguins, or Dallas Stars. I'll be honest, I don't know these teams very well, so I just went with the Avalanche because Colorado's a cool place, right? There's 16 teams total in the playoffs, and the bracket is supposed to match the one from the 1997-1998 season. My first series was up against the Edmonton Oilers. I don't know much about them, but I've heard they kinda suck. When you start a game, you absolutely have to listen to the theme song of hockey, O Canada. Nah, I just think it plays the national anthem of whatever team's playing. Every hockey match begins with a face-off. In fact, every dead play does. You do this like 50 times per match. The goal in hockey is, well, to score goals. The goal itself is quite small, and it's usually pretty tough to make a shot if the goalie's in position. Most possessions will just be nothing happens or a shot is stopped. But in some rare occasions, when things happen just right, the hockey puck goes right past and you score. How did that go in? Sandish Ozolinsh with a beautiful shot. Now, this first goal was so lucky, but there was at least a small amount of skill to it. Hockey has this thing called a one-timer where you pass to a teammate and they immediately shoot. It's a pretty decent maneuver in a real match, but in these old games, the AI just struggles with them sometimes. I find that these old simulation hockey games always have some way to cheese and get consistent goals. It's not perfect, but it works well enough for this one. At the end of the first period, I was winning 1-0. A hockey match is 3 periods, and in this game I have them set to 5 minutes each. Sometimes either your player or the opponent's player will commit a foul, putting them in the penalty box temporarily. This initiates a power play, and now their team has one less player for the next 2 minutes. These are the times you want to go for a score. Another thing that can happen is one of the players gets roughed up, they'll initiate a fight. I'm getting wrecked. Oh my god. I got absolutely owned. I don't understand what happened. Like, I was mashing the punch button, but whatever. Both players who took part in the fight get a 5-minute penalty. I'm not really sure if there's any benefit to winning them, honestly. Maybe your team gets energized temporarily or something. I don't know. I've always found it so weird that fighting's just kind of normalized in hockey. It just seems strange to me, especially since they're both balancing on ice skates. You might notice the puck being highlighted with a colored trail behind it. This is an optional feature, but I'm glad they put it in. I can't imagine trying to spot a tiny 4-pixel black blob flying across the screen. The controls for this one are really simplistic too. It has a few extra things you can do, like skating backwards, but all you really do is hold turbo and press pass or shoot. The longer you press the button, the harder the shot is. But yeah, nothing of note really happened in this one past that. No one scored the rest of the game, and we won 1-0. When you win, it shows your team doing a little celebration behind the goal, which I guess is a nice touch. After that, we won Game 2, 2-0, and the Oilers were knocked out of the playoffs. But who really expected them to do well, you know? In round 2, we were up against the San Jose Sharks. They've got some possibly well-known players like Jeff Frazen and Sean Gauthier. I don't know, they're on the roster at that time period. The only hockey player I've ever heard of is Wayne Gretzky, but he was out of the league by this point. Getting into Game 1 now, Jeff Frazen flying down the ice with a beautiful shot, but the goalie deflects it at the last second. It looked like that one went right between his legs. About a minute later now, Alexei Gusarov directly in front of San Jose's goal, but Mike Vernon stops it not once, but twice in a row. He is a brick wall out there. After that, we've got Stefan Yell in the penalty box for spearing. I didn't even know that was a penalty, but it makes sense. You're not allowed to try to stab someone with your stick. Complete brutality. At the end of the first period, we're all tied up, 0-0. Going into the second now, Peter Forsberg with an open shot, but Vernon stops it with his big toe. That had to hurt. Then we got absolute chaos happening behind the Sharks' goal. I count 4 players in total back there. They somehow managed to break the puck free and escape a terrifying situation. Later, the Sharks defending near their own goal, and Keith Jones with one of the biggest checks I've seen in my time on Bill Holder. He's going to be feeling that one in the morning. About a minute to go in the second now, Owen Nolan shoots with such force that the goal is knocked loose. Try saying that guy's name 5 times fast. At the end of the second period, it's still all tied up at 0. Now the start of the third period, the strangest thing happened. Some dogs broke into the commentator's booth and went nuts. Nah, I'm just kidding, that was my doggies. After that, there was a loose puck that was sent high in the air. This caused the entire game to slow down by like 50%. It can't handle rendering all this. Under 2 minutes to go now, and still no one has scored. Valery Kamensky goes for the one-timer, but it's deflected. The defense definitely the MVP of this match. In a final push for the win, the Avalanche sends multiple people towards the goal, and Mike Vernon falls over. Should be an easy shot, but neither Joe Sakic nor John Clem can finish it off. How do you miss that? Come on! And just like that, the third period had ended with the game still tied. When this happens, the game goes into overtime. This is a 5-minute period with sudden death rules, first to score wins. If neither team scores, then it goes to a shootout. Well, that's what happens in real life. Apparently in this game, it just goes to another time over and over until someone wins. The Avalanche were up a player after a high stick call, and Stefan Yell has a wide open shot but just can't connect. How do they miss so many? This game should have been over ages ago. After 5 minutes of extra play, still no scores. Now in the second overtime, and Mike Rath gets knocked into next week. How's he still alive out there? Well, as you might guess, still no one scored after 2 overtimes. We're going to a third. You know, this exact same thing happened in the last NHL Breakaway game where we went to a bunch of overtimes, but that was against the Devils. Honestly, the Sharks almost never had a shot on goal in all these overtimes. The Avalanche just couldn't finish them off. Guess you gotta credit the Sharks' defense though. After 3 separate overtimes, still no one had scored. But then finally, 2 minutes into the fourth time, Claude Lemieux had a rather impossibly difficult shot with 2 people directly in front of the goal, and boom goes the dynamite. Colorado wins 1-0 in one of the slowest matches I've ever seen. To be fair, I haven't seen that many hockey matches, but still. Whew, so we were up 1-0 against San Jose, now it was time for Game 2. I'll take this time to talk about a few comparisons between this game and the last one. Graphically, it's hard for me to give a fair judgment. When I first started this series, I had an RGB modded N64 being upscaled using a FrameMeister. After the Indiana Jones game, I upgraded to a PixelFX N64 digital HDMI mod. This improved the quality of the games drastically. So while this game does look like quite a step up in graphics, it's hard to tell. For the audio, it's just a flat downgrade. The commentator may as well not be there. In '98, they had him talk about the game every now and then, and there would even be some funny anecdotes, like a boy named Chandler being lost.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have a lost child named Chandler at the concession stand. If you are Chandler's parent or guardian, please report to the concession stand by the south entrance.
Well, they just removed that entirely in this one. I think he literally only speaks when someone gets a penalty. The only decent thing is there's a pipe organ that plays random tunes every now and then, like Mary Had a Little Lamb. You play Mary Had a Little Lamb. I don't know. The gameplay, it feels nearly identical for the most part, other than the AI behaving a bit different. So anyway, we beat San Jose 2-0 in Game 2, and they were out of the playoffs. In the semifinals, we were now up against the Phoenix Coyotes. Okay, I'm sorry, but how in the world is there a hockey team in Phoenix, Arizona? It's gotta take so much energy to keep that arena cold. Plus, who's out here caring about ice skating in Arizona when it's hotter than the sun? Well, they had some possibly famous players at the time, like goalie Nikolai Khabibulin, or Keith Tachuk, probably said that wrong, had 40 goals on the season. I'll cut to the chase. We won Game 1 2-1 in overtime, then we won Game 2 1-0 with a late goal in the third period. This put us in the Stanley Cup Finals against the Montreal Canadiens. Feels a bit weird they call themselves the Canadiens. Like, sure they are Canadian, but what about all those other places? They had possibly famous players Jeff Hackett and Vincent Damphousse. Although he only had 14 goals on the season, so maybe he wasn't that famous. We won Game 1 1-0 with an overtime goal. I don't know what the heck was going on here, but my dad even snuck his way into this game while I was away. I think he used my chair to put on some socks. Anyway, we won Game 2 1-0, and that was it. I had won the Stanley Cup. It shows the most amazing celebration cutscene ever, with your team captain skating around lifting up the trophy, and it phases through his body like so many times. It reminds me when I had Superman carrying Darkseid in Superman 64. You then get a congratulations image showing that you're the Stanley Cup champion with an image of the trophy, as well as a bunch of specific awards different players got throughout the year. The game's credits are accessible at any time you want from the main menu. For some reason it plays O Canada during them. But yeah, that's about all there is for this one. Game complete. So yeah, there you have it. My journey to beating NHL Breakaway 99. Honestly, I don't see much of a reason to play this one. Maybe if you're just a hockey fanatic, or maybe you're playing a bunch of N64 games, but who would do that? I believe reviews at the time were poor for this game, saying it was just the same game with a new roster, and that's about how I feel. But somehow it got even worse. Like, there's just zero character to this game. The commentator was one of the only interesting things about the last one, and he's just gone, a shell of his former self. The graphics were decent, but it did lag quite a bit. Maybe I'm biased because I don't like hockey, but I don't know. This one wasn't fun. Thankfully, it was easy though. I gave it a 2 out of 10 for enjoyability and a 2.5 out of 10 for difficulty. Hey, thanks for watching the video. Have a sneak peek at the next game. We got 278 games on the list. Could be anything. We'll find out together. 3, 2, 1, go. 121? What's that? It's a palindrome. We are playing Knife Edge Nose Gunner. It's like a helicopter game? I don't know what that is. But yeah, if you made it all the way to the end, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you enjoyed the video, consider giving it a like. It helps the channel a lot. And if you like this series, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on the next one.